Now let's move into one of the most powerful tools available to modern investigators: intelligence visualization. As investigators, we often collect enormous amounts of information: interview notes, emails, access logs, CCTV footage, financial records, phone records, and system logs. The challenge is that raw data can quickly become overwhelming. Imagine trying to understand a 500-page investigation file. Even experienced investigators can miss important connections when information is scattered across dozens of documents. This is where intelligence visualization becomes invaluable. Instead of reading thousands of individual facts, we convert those facts into visual products that reveal patterns, relationships, and trends almost immediately. In other words, visualization helps us transform chaos into clarity. Rather than asking people to read everything, we allow them to see the investigation. Let's look at some of the most useful visualization techniques. 1. Link charts and link analysis. The first technique is the link chart. Think of a link chart as a relationship map. Every person, company, department, bank account, phone number, or email address becomes a point, or what analysts call a node. Lines between the nodes represent relationships. For example, imagine you're investigating a conflict of interest complaint. At first glance, the purchasing manager and the vendor appear unrelated. But after examining company records, you discover that both individuals share the same home address. Further research reveals they are directors of another company together. Suddenly, what looked like separate pieces of information become connected. A simple link chart makes those hidden relationships immediately visible. Link charts are especially useful when investigating procurement fraud, corruption, harassment involving multiple participants, collusion, or organized misconduct. They also help investigators understand informal influence. An organizational chart tells you who officially reports to whom. A link chart tells you who actually communicates with whom. Sometimes those are two very different things. Perhaps two employees exchange hundreds of messages despite working in different departments. Perhaps several witnesses regularly socialize outside work. These relationships may influence witness credibility or explain why certain individuals support each other's stories. Visualization helps investigators recognize these hidden networks. 2. Timeline visualization. The second technique is the timeline. Every investigation is really a story told through time. Our job is to reconstruct that story as accurately as possible. A timeline organizes events in chronological order. Instead of reading witness statements one by one, we place every verified event onto a single timeline. For example, 8:05 a.m. employee enters the building. 8:12 a.m. security camera records entry into the warehouse. 8:20 a.m. inventory adjustment entered into the system. 8:45 a.m. supervisor receives a complaint. 9 a.m. employee leaves the restricted area. When viewed visually, the sequence becomes much easier to understand. Complex investigations often involve multiple people acting simultaneously. In those cases, investigators may build branch timelines showing parallel activities. One branch might track employee A. Another tracks employee B. Another shows machine activity. Eventually, the branches intersect, revealing exactly where events overlap. Digital evidence makes timelines even more reliable. Computer systems automatically record timestamps such as file creation times, system log entries, access records, and security badge scans. These digital artifacts often provide objective evidence that either supports or contradicts witness accounts. One particularly valuable benefit of timelines is identifying missing time. Suppose an employee explains every part of their workday except for a 30-minute gap. That unexplained gap doesn't automatically prove misconduct. However, it raises an important investigative question. What happened during that period? Missing time frequently becomes the starting point for additional evidence collection. 3. Heat maps and spatial analysis. Our third visualization technique is the heat map. A heat map shows where problems occur most frequently. Instead of looking at individual cases, we're looking for concentrations of risk. For example, imagine your organization has received 50 harassment complaints over the past 2 years. Rather than reviewing each case separately, you plot them on a workplace floor plan. You immediately notice that most complaints originate from one department. That department becomes a hotspot requiring further investigation. Heat maps can also reveal trends over time. Perhaps safety incidents increase during the night shift. Perhaps fraud cases cluster within one regional office. Perhaps cybersecurity incidents consistently originate from one business unit. Patterns like these are difficult to recognize in spreadsheets, but become obvious when displayed visually. Spatial analysis extends this idea even further. Some investigations use geographic information to identify external risk factors. For example, workplace incidents may cluster around particular loading docks, entrances, parking lots, or intersections. Financial investigators may also use visualization techniques to detect unusual number patterns. If financial transactions deviate significantly from expected statistical distributions, those anomalies may indicate possible fraud, requiring closer examination. Visualization directs investigators toward areas deserving additional attention. 4. Relationship graphs. Relationship graphs build upon link analysis by examining not only connections, but also dependencies and influence. Think of a relationship graph as a network. Instead of asking, "Who knows whom?" we ask, "Who influences whom? Who depends on whom? Who controls important information?" For example, during a workplace investigation, several witnesses may report to the same supervisor. Even if each interview appears independent, the relationship graph reminds us that organizational power may affect what people are willing to say. Similarly, investigators may create communication matrices showing how frequently individuals interact through meetings, emails, or telephone calls. Heavy communication between certain individuals may suggest collaboration or, in some cases, collusion. Relationship graphs are also valuable for identifying root causes. Rather than focusing on a single incident, they help us understand how systems, people, technology, and organizational processes interact. When one part of the system fails, investigators can trace how that failure spread throughout the organization. The concept is dashboard thinking. Traditionally, investigations produced reports only after the case was finished. Modern investigative management takes a different approach. Instead of waiting until the end, leaders monitor investigations continuously through dashboards. A dashboard provides a real-time overview of investigative activity. For example, it may display how many cases are currently open, how many interviews have been completed, average investigation duration, evidence awaiting review, high-risk investigations, policy violations by department. This allows managers to identify bottlenecks before they become serious problems. Many dashboards also allow users to drill down into specific information. A manager might notice an increase in fraud cases. With a few clicks, they can view which department is affected, what types of fraud are occurring, and whether similar cases happened previously. Dashboards also help organizations measure investigative performance. Leadership may monitor metrics such as case completion time, financial recovery, investigation costs, policy compliance, or return on investment. Perhaps the greatest benefit is prevention. When investigation data is collected over many years, dashboards reveal recurring weaknesses. Maybe the same policy is violated repeatedly. Maybe one department consistently generates complaints. Maybe one internal control repeatedly fails. Instead of solving the same problem over and over again, leadership can strengthen policies, improve training, redesign processes, or introduce additional controls. In that way, investigations become more than fact-finding exercises. They become powerful tools for organizational learning and continuous improvement. Ultimately, intelligence visualization allows investigators to transform thousands of disconnected data points into meaningful insights. Whether through link charts, timelines, heat maps, relationship graphs, or dashboards, visualization helps investigators communicate complex information clearly, uncover hidden patterns, and support evidence-based decisions. In today's information-rich environment, the ability to visualize intelligence is just as important as the ability to collect it.